Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Margarita. Thank you so much for joining. On my channel, I like to share these videos where I share what we ate during the week. I also share step-by-step directions on how I made it and recipe links. This week I'm sharing 4 of our dinners, also a sweet roll recipe for breakfast and a delicious cake. I hope you enjoyed this video. We started the week off with creamy tortellini soup, and this is a new recipe that I tried and we really enjoyed it. I will link the full recipe down below for you. I am starting off by preheating a Dutch oven. You can also just use a large pot. I'm using some avocado oil and I'm going to cook my turkey sausage. You can also use regular plain old turkey and just season the meat. Now, although the turkey sausage is seasoned, I'm still going to add some salt, pepper, and some paprika to give it a pretty color. While the meat is cooking, I'm going to prep the rest of my ingredients, which includes some basil, 1 large onion. I also needed some kale, but I bought some kale that was already cut up. So if you have a bunch of kale, just chop that up as well. Once the meat has been browned and fully cooked, I'm going to add my chopped up onion. I'm also going to season the onion and the meat with some oregano and basil. The recipe calls for Italian seasoning, but I don't buy Italian seasoning anymore. I just like oregano and basil. Once my onion has cooked down a bit, I'm going to add my garlic and saute it for about 30 seconds. And then I'm going to add the flour and stir it for about 1 more minute. Next, I'm adding 1 can of tomato sauce and about 4 cups of chicken broth. I am also going to add 1 full can of water. I'm just mixing everything to combine, and then I'm going to reduce the heat and let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Next, I am adding my cheese tortellini, and I'm going to cook this for about 7 minutes or until the tortellini is cooked through. Then I'm going to add my chopped up kale and cook it for about 2 minutes until it is wilted. And lastly, I'm just adding in the heavy cream and I'm going to stir this to combine for about another minute, and then the soup is ready to serve. This was such a good recipe. I really enjoyed this soup. My kids did not like the kale, so next time I am making this, I'm going to do it without the kale, but it's just a really good soup for a cold winter day. So the following day, I made a caprese pasta and some chicken schnitzel. I will start off with the pasta, and I'm going to link the full recipe down below for you. I'm starting off by preheating a large skillet with about a 1/3 cup of olive oil and a pint of grape tomatoes. I'm seasoning them with some salt, and I'm going to cook these on medium heat until the tomatoes burst. I am also cooking 1 pound of pasta. Once the tomatoes are done, I'm just adding some pepper and garlic powder to them. I'm removing them from the heat. I'm chopping up some basil to go with the pasta. Once the pasta has been cooked and drained, I'm adding it to the tomatoes. Today I only added about 3/4 of the pasta pasta. I saved a quarter for my youngest daughter. I wasn't sure if she's gonna like this pasta, but actually she did. She loved this pasta. I'm drizzling some balsamic vinegar into the pasta. I'm gonna toss everything together with the basil and the mozzarella. We absolutely loved this pasta. It has a very similar taste to the pasta fresca that I like to make for my family, which also has balsamic vinegar. And if there's one recipe you take away from here, I suggest trying this pasta. Next, I am moving on to the chicken schnitzel recipe. I have about 2 large chicken breasts that I have sliced up, and I'm just dredging them in flour, eggs, and breadcrumbs. To get really good chicken schnitzel, you should pound your meat really thinly, but I did not do that this time just because my daughter was napping and her bedroom is right above the kitchen. I'm going to fry these on low to medium heat until they are golden brown. Once the chicken is fully cooked, I'm removing it onto a paper towel lined plate just to collect any extra oil, and I'm going to continue cooking the rest of the chicken. I will have both the chicken and the pasta recipes linked down below for you. These make such a good combination together. We all really enjoyed this dinner. The following day I made chicken scampi, and I just followed the recipe linked down below for you for this sauce. I didn't have any tenders. I only had 1 extra chicken breast, which I had to turn into a dinner, so that's what I did. I just sliced up 1 chicken breast into cubes, and I seasoned it with salt, pepper, and paprika, and I'm just cooking the chicken until it is completely browned and cooked through. Next, I am boiling some pasta. I am using 1 pound of rotini. You can use any pasta you have on hand. Once the chicken is cooked through, I'm just removing it from the pan and I'm going to saute my veggies. I am going to use some bell peppers, mushrooms, and onions, and I'm going to saute them until they are cooked through. I am seasoning the veggies with some salt, pepper, and paprika. Once the veggies are cooked through, I'm going to add my garlic and I'm going to saute it for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to remove all of the vegetables out of the pan and make my sauce. I'm going to deglaze the pan with some white wine. I'm using about 3/4 cup here. And then I'm going to add about the same amount of heavy cream. I also did end up going to add about another 1/2 cup. I just felt that it needed more creaminess to the sauce. Once the sauce is combined, I'm adding the cooked veggies and the chicken back into the pan. I'm going to season it with some basil and oregano. I'm going to stir it together and taste the sauce and just adjust the seasonings to my liking. Once the sauce tastes exactly as it should, I'm going to add in the noodles and toss everything to combine. And this was dinner. It's very simple. I served it with some Parmesan cheese and some fresh basil on top. The next day I made broccoli and beef. This is one of my most favorite things to eat. I really like the simplicity because it's so easy. You just need some broccoli and beef, and you also need some rice. I'm using this Trader Joe's brown rice for me and my husband, and for the kids I'm just gonna boil them some jasmine rice. I'm starting off by preheating my large skillet on medium heat. I added some avocado oil into that, and I'm seasoning the meat with some salt and pepper, and I'm going to cook the meat until it is browned. So while the meat is cooking, I am working on my sauce. I'm grating about 2 tablespoons worth of ginger, and then I'm going to grate 3 garlic cloves. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 cup of hot water, and I'm also going to add soy sauce and sesame seed oil. And this full recipe will be linked down below for you as well. And for the kids, I am boiling them up 1 cup of jasmine rice just because they do not like brown rice as much as me and my husband do. Once the meat has been fully cooked, I'm just going to remove it into a bowl, and next I'm going to cook my broccoli. Once I got all of my broccoli into the pan, I'm adding about 1/3 cup of water, and I'm just going to close it with a lid and steam it until the broccoli is cooked through. Once the broccoli is cooked through, I'm just adding the meat and the sauce into the pan, and I'm going to simmer this until the sauce has thickened. To serve the Trader Joe's frozen brown rice, you just heat up the pouches in the microwave. Then I'm going to add some butter, some salt, and pepper, and I'm going to stir everything together until all the butter has melted. This is one of my favorite things to make, not only because it is so easy, but I think it heats up so well the next day. I always make myself a bowl for the next day for lunch. Definitely recommend trying this recipe. This week I made some sweet rolls for breakfast. This is something I grew up eating all the time. My mom made bulachki, which is just sweet rolls in Russian. I will link the recipe that I used for the dough for you down below. You start off by adding some warm milk into your stand mixer along with sugar and yeast, and let that get frothy. And then I'm just getting the eggs and butter ready to go with the wet ingredients. Once the yeast has been activated, I'm adding the butter and the eggs. I'm going to stir it together and start adding the dry ingredients. I'm using my dough hook for my stand mixer. This will combine the wet and dry ingredients together and knead the dough. Once the dough has been kneaded, I'm going to remove all the dough from the dough hook, and I'm going to cover the bowl with saran wrap and let this stand for at least 1 hour until it has doubled in size. Then I will punch down the dough and transfer it onto a floured surface. Next, I am just shaping the dough into kind of a log shape just so I can divide the dough into equal pieces. To make each sweet roll, you just roll out each piece individually. I'm going to drizzle some avocado oil over them and just spread the oil and sprinkle some sugar onto the dough. This is not a sweet dough, so you need to add quite a bit of sugar. Then you just roll it up and pinch the sides together and cut a slit about halfway through. I'm going to let these rise for about 1 hour. I am going to let these rise in the oven. I do not have the oven on. I just have the light on, which is going to generate enough heat just because my kitchen is very cold. Once the rolls have risen, I'm going to make an egg wash and brush all of the rolls, front, top, sides, with the egg wash. This is going to give it a really pretty golden color. Bake these at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes until they are golden. We love these straight out of the oven. They're so good. I like to have these with tea, and my kids like to eat these with milk. This week for dessert, I made this woodpile cake. This is a recipe my mom used to make all the time. It is a Russian recipe. To start off, bring 2 cups of water and 2 sticks of butter to a boil. Once the butter has melted and come to a boil, turn off the heat and add 2 cups of flour. Then I'm going to stir everything together until the flour and the butter and water has been incorporated together. I am transferring the dough into my stand mixer and I'm going to add the eggs. I am adding 8 eggs, 1 egg at a time, mixing really well in between. You don't want to add them all and create scrambled eggs in your dough because the dough is still hot. Just add 1 at a time and mix it very well. Once all of the eggs have been incorporated, I am going to add about 1 teaspoon of vanilla and stir it together. Now to pipe this, you need a piping bag or a large gallon-sized Ziploc bag that you can just cut a corner off of. I lined a baking tray with some parchment paper and I'm just piping the dough into about 6-inch strips. I am baking these at 350 for about 30 minutes. To make the cream, you just combine 24 ounces of sour cream, half a cup of sugar, and about a teaspoon of vanilla together. I like to add some shaved chocolate on top, so I'm just making my own. I melted about half a cup of chocolate chips. I'm transferring them onto a clean sheet. You can also use the back of a cookie sheet if you don't have a tray like I do. And I'm smearing the chocolate into a very thin layer, and then I'm going to pop it into the freezer for a couple of minutes. Once the chocolate has frozen, I'm just scraping it off to create these large chocolate shavings. I'm going to cool these pieces on a wire rack because they need to be completely cooled down before I can assemble the cake. To assemble the cake, I just dip each individual piece into the cream and I stack them onto a serving dish. You can stack these into a square. I like to stack these kind of into like a mountain peak or into like a wood pile. Once you have run out of all of your pieces, spread whatever icing you have on top and sprinkle everything with the chocolate shavings. Refrigerate the cake for at least 2 hours before you slice it so it doesn't fall apart. This is such a unique cake. I love making it because it brings back so much childhood memories of when my mom used to make it, and now my family gets to enjoy it as well. Well friends, this wraps up this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.